Good afternoon, friends, and thank you very much for being here for this weekly media interaction. Today I have with me the familiar figure of Joint Secretary East Asia, Mr. Gautam Bambawale, who handles our relations with various East Asian countries, and today the focus is on the forthcoming visit of the President of South Korea. And what we will do is I will make a few introductory announcements and information, and following which you are welcome to ask questions to Mr. Bambawale relating to the forthcoming visit and on some of the other announcements that I have to make. Following that, as usual, I am also willing to take any other questions that you may want to ask. So let me first start with the forthcoming visit of the President of South Korea. President Park Geun-hye will be on a state visit to India from the 15th to the 18th of January. As is usual for such state visits, she will be ceremonially welcomed at the Rashtrapati Bhavan on the 16th. She will have delegation-level talks with the Prime Minister on the afternoon of the 16th. She is coming with a delegation which also includes 3 other ministers. These are the Foreign Minister, the Minister for Science, ICT and Future Planning, and the Minister for Trade and Industry. Following the completion of these delegation-level talks, it is expected that there will be some agreements that will be signed. These are currently being negotiated, and once they are finalized, we hope that they will be signed on the 16th. The Vice President, the External Affairs Minister, and the Leader of the Opposition in the Lok Sabha are scheduled to call on the visiting dignitary. The visiting dignitary will also meet Rashtrapati Ji, and he will host a banquet in her honor. Finally, President Park will also interact with Indian business leaders at an interaction being organized by the 3 chambers of commerce. Those are the ASSOCHAM, FICCI, and CII. As you are aware, India and Korea have a very robust economic relationship. Our trade in 2012 is approximately a little over $18 billion. The Republic of Korea is a major investment partner in India. There are approximately 300 Korean companies who are functioning here in India. They employ about 40,000 Indian workers. Indian companies too have a presence in Korea. They are in areas relating to motor vehicles, IT, and pharmaceuticals. During the last few years, there has been several high-level summit meetings between India and the Republic of Korea. If I can recollect some, in January 2010, the then President of the Republic of Korea, Mr. Lee Myung-bak, had visited India. Then in July 2011, President Pratibha Patil had visited Seoul. And subsequently, in March 2012, Prime Minister had visited Seoul. President Park is visiting India in the first year since he assumed office last February. We hope that the visit of the President of Korea will pave the way for expansion of our friendship and strategic partnership, as well as set the stage for future growth in the relationship between India and Republic of Korea, and this would be at a higher trajectory than what we have been used in the past. I have a couple of more announcements to make, following which we will ask Joint Secretary East Asia if he has to add anything to this, and then the floor will be open. And these 2 announcements relate to meetings that are scheduled on Afghanistan. on 16th and 17th. On the 16th of January, the International Contact Group on Afghanistan and Pakistan will be meeting in New Delhi. This is a group of 53 countries who are involved in Afghanistan. It started in 2009. Previously, it was called the Special Representatives Group. It was then subsequently renamed as the International Contact Group on Afghanistan and Pakistan. Mr. S.K. Lamba, the Special Envoy of the Prime Minister to Afghanistan, is the Indian representative on this. We will provide you details of these meetings and the media opportunity that will be available for this meeting on the 16th. Following this, on the 17th, there will be the meeting of the senior officials involved with the Istanbul process on Afghanistan, which is also called the Heart of Asia. Now, this will be the 10th meeting of the senior officials who are focused on the Heart of Asia process, and this is on the 17th. 14 member states, 16 supporting members, and 11 international organizations have been invited for this, and we hope to have representatives from a large number of them. Foreign Secretary is the senior official from India on this at this meeting, and of course she will be assisted by others who handle this area. This includes Joint Secretary Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran. I think with those two introductory announcements and information about the forthcoming visit of the President of Korea, I will stop, and I'll request Mr. Bambawale to add something if he would like. Otherwise, the floor is open. We start with questions on the forthcoming visit of the President of South Korea. No, so the floor is open. Anyone would like to ask questions on that? Yes, Dipanjan?
What is the status of the India-South Korea nuclear agreement, peaceful agreement, and whether there will be any announcement of site during this visit or not?
The India-Republic of Korea agreement on peaceful uses of nuclear energy was, as you probably know, signed in 2011, in July of 2011, when our then President Mrs. Patil visited that country. And we are continuing our cooperation with South Korea, with the Republic of Korea, on the basis of that agreement. As far as your second part of your question is concerned about sites, I don't have anything to offer or to say because I don't know what is happening on that, but we'll check with the Department of Atomic Energy and get back to you.
Yes, Rajiv?
Gautam, on the same issue, as you know that South Korea is very keen on building a nuclear power project in India. But this time, on the contrary, we are the ones who are probably not very keen as of now. What is the actual picture? And is it correct that we want to finish with the pending projects first and then take up and then talk about the...
Don't take a group of questions. No? No. Okay. No, let me say that my understanding is the same as yours, that there is a desire on the part of our Department of Atomic Energy to consolidate its civil nuclear energy program before moving further and looking at new sites or looking at new projects or looking at new power plants. So you're absolutely right. I think that's the approach of our Department of Atomic Energy, to consolidate whatever they're already been doing before moving further. So I think that is what is going to happen. I don't foresee that any site will be, will be nominated or offered to the South Koreans right now.
Just to add to what Gautam has mentioned, that is that nuclear power plants are long gestation projects. They take anything between 6 to 10 years from the time you start thinking of it to the time nuclear power starts flowing. So these are longer term issues which are not, and you've seen in other cases how the processes move, and we haven't even got into feasibility issues, etc. So siting is one step after that. Yes, Naz?
Is India going to clear POSCO's steel plant in Odisha during the President's visit?
Well, actually, as you noted very recently, the Ministry of Environment and Forests has extended the environmental clearance for the project for another 5-year period. We believe that with this and the fact that the acquisition of land has more or less been completed by the government of Odisha, that I think POSCO can now move forward with the project in the coming weeks and in the coming months. So we do hope that POSCO India will commence the project very, very soon. Let me also just touch upon what the project is, because originally you know that it was the proposal, the plan was for a 12 million ton per annum steel plant, integrated steel plant. The current proposal is for an 8 million ton per annum steel plant, and it requires 2,700 acres of land which has already been acquired by the government of Odisha, and 2,700. And with the environmental clearance being extended by the Ministry of Environment and Forests, I think the project is now all set to move forward and go ahead. And we do hope that the POSCO India will be able to do that in the coming weeks, as I said.
Manish?
Gautam, the last couple of years have seen a major upswing in military relations between India and South Korea. Are we planning to, talking of this upcoming visit, are we looking at some military deal, or are we looking to buy new defense systems? Could you give a sense of the burgeoning military relations between the two countries?
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, let me say that you're absolutely right in the sense that the relationship between India and South Korea has perceptibly quickened, has expanded, deepened over the last few years. If you just take a look at the level and intensity of high-level visits between our two countries between 2010 and now 2014, you'll see that it is much more than what it used to be before that. Now, the reasons for this is, of course, an intensification of our relationship across the board, particularly in the area of economics. The fact that Korean companies are major investors in India is known to all of us. And as JSXP mentioned, Indian companies are also important investors in South Korea. But on the defense relationship, let me say that we do have a wide-ranging defense relationship. We work with the South Koreans on defense research and development. We work with the South Koreans on other activities such as anti-piracy in the Gulf of Aden. And we have also carried out some naval exercises with South Korea. As far as this visit is concerned, let me just say that let's wait for the visit to take place. Let's wait for the discussions between the President of Korea and our President and our Prime Minister to get through. And I believe there will be an occasion for media interaction. So, whatever the outcomes and the results of this particular visit will be shared with you at that point in time.
Mr. Venkatnarayan?
Gautam, the South Korean President's visit followed by the Japanese Prime Minister's visit, these two visits are apparently causing some kind of anxiety in China. The ambassador has written a couple of articles in the newspapers here, and there has been a resistance earlier when the Japanese wanted to join the, quadrilateral. So, what is your reading of the situation, and is there any justification for the Chinese getting excited or worried about our close relationship with these two countries? Thanks.
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. You'll have to ask the Chinese or the spokesperson of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But let me say that it just so happens, it's worked out in this way that we have the South Korean president and the Japanese prime minister are likely to come in close proximity to each other. It, I think, speaks of the fact that India is an important country in the Asian region, and that we are an integral part of this region. We are an integral part of the Southeast Asia, East Asia region. And we have very strong bilateral relationships with all these countries, whether it's South Korea, whether it's Japan, whether it's China, or the individual Southeast Asian nations also. And I think China itself has has a very strong relationship with each of these countries. So I don't see anything special in this. But I cannot speak for China, of course.
If anyone else has questions on these? On this? 1 minute. On this? Yeah, okay. Yes, sure. Just 1 minute.
No, just a small thing. Do you have the figures of the FDI, South Korean FDI in India? You said that 300 companies are there, but any FDI of South Korea in India and the reciprocal one?
What I will do is I will, because statistics, you always have different sets of statistics depending on rules of origin and so on. But as per our estimate, and this is based on putting Korean and Indian statistics together, total amount of Korean foreign direct investment in India is $3 billion. And the total amount of Indian foreign direct investment in South Korea and the Republic of Korea is roughly $1 billion. That's the figures we have in the Ministry of External Affairs.
Dr. Awad, you would like to ask?
Yeah, thank you. Just regarding the security in the Korean Peninsula, how do you see Indian rules in the tranquility between the two neighbors, taking in the fact that India has been from time to time issuing statements regarding the nuclear tests or the ballistic missile tests? Thank you.
No, as I said, we are an integral part of this region, the Asian region, the East and Southeast Asian region. And what we would like to see is we'd like to see peace and stability in the Korean Peninsula. This is, of course, something which is for the Korean people to decide and to do by themselves. So we would like to see peace and stability reign in the Korean Peninsula, and we do hope that the countries involved there will take every measure, every step to ensure that such peace and stability is maintained in the Korean Peninsula.
Anyone else on this? Yes.
So India and Korea, I understand they have signed this comprehensive economic partnership agreement. Now that their trade minister is coming, it's been 3 years and there's been a huge trade deficit that India runs with Korea. So are we going to take up those concerns that we need more market access?
You're right. We signed a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with South Korea, with the Republic of Korea in 2009, and it came into effect from 1st January 2010. And in the immediate aftermath of signing this agreement, we did see an increase, a pretty rapid increase in bilateral trade in calendar year 2010 and 2011. But as JSXP had pointed out, in 2012 we have seen a slowing of trade. In fact, we have seen a dip in the trade numbers. Now, you're not wrong in the sense that we do run a trade deficit with South Korea, and we are facing a trade deficit with South Korea. But these are issues which will be discussed between the trade ministers. The commerce minister will definitely raise these issues. And yes, we do want to see more access for products for Indian products in South Korea, especially where we have a competitive advantage, particularly computer software, pharmaceuticals, and so on. But let me also say that this is one of the many issues on the economic side which will be discussed, because there are so many other issues which bind India and Korea together.
Well, if nobody else has on this, anybody else on the Afghanistan part? Okay. If that is so, the floor is open for any other questions. Afghanistan, yes, Indrani.
Who are the delegates coming in from the US and
I don't
Pakistan?
have a readout of the names as yet. So, because these are being, while we provide the premises and the hosting facilities, the contact group is coordinated by Germany, which is the chairman of this.
This is for the Heart of Asia?
No, for the
Istanbul process.
No. Let's go one by one. The contact group on Afghanistan and Pakistan, the international contact group, is coordinated by Germany. Okay. The Istanbul process is coordinated because the Heart of Asia process is Afghanistan, does all the groundwork. They send the invitations. And once they are ready, we are providing the facilities for holding this conference. So once we have those lists from both these countries, we will certainly share with you, but that will be perhaps nearer the conference. On this? Yeah. Anybody else on this? And then we can go to anything else. Okay. Yeah, Nidhi?
I just wanted to ask, about this whole issue of the domestic helps in the U.S. after the Devyani episode. I believe the ministry is pushing the finance ministry now on this issue of changing their status. What is the update on that?
Nidhi, those like you who've been following this issue for some time are aware that there is a proposal that government is considering to make significant changes in the status of India-based domestic assistance that our officers take to the US as well as to Europe. This proposal has been in gestation for, I would think, sometime from the beginning of last year. So it's been quite some time. There are various aspects to it. There are legal aspects, there are financial implications, and of course there are matters relating to visa status. Government is now in the midst of trying to finalize this process. We are having, of course, part of this requires discussions at fairly senior levels between officials of the Ministry of External Affairs and also the Ministry of Finance, because there are financial implications. We hope to pursue this very vigorously as soon as possible and hope to have a successful outcome to those discussions. Yes. Vishal?
Videos have now surfaced of beheadings of Indian soldiers along the line of control, and the army chief has said today that the question on whether these are to be taken up as war crimes should be addressed to the government. So my question is that is this something which is, now that videographic evidence is also surfacing, is in the public domain, is this something which is going to be taken up, with Pakistan and perhaps with an international agency as a war crime issue?
Vishal, I think you've been economical with what the army chief said. He said that the veracity of this is being examined. Once this is examined, that the army will pass it on to the Ministry of Defense, who will then seek our views on how to go about it. So at this stage, there is an issue about the veracity of those, and that's where my understanding of it lies. Now, as respects our view on this, I would refer you to a press release that the Ministry of External Affairs provided on the 9th of January 2013. That press release quite explicitly indicates that this was a barbaric act and a reprehensible act. Also, this press release indicates our views on the entire matter. I would therefore refer that to you. It's available in the public domain. Yes, Parul?
Are India and Pakistan resuming their secretary-level dialogue with the meeting of the Commerce Secretaries?
Parul, the fact is that there is a meeting between the Commerce Minister of India and the Minister of State for Commerce of Pakistan on the sidelines of a business conference. Now, this possibly cannot be construed as a resumption of the India-Pakistan dialogue process. We understand that the Minister of State of Pakistan would be following up discussions that were initiated during the visit of the Chief Minister of Punjab, Mr. Shahbaz Sharif, with the Indian leadership during his recent visit to India. Now, our understanding is that the Pakistani authorities are willing to take substantive steps to show that they are in fact serious about moving ahead with the process of normalization of trade. Therefore, they have requested a meeting of the Commerce Secretaries prior to the meeting of the ministers, which has been agreed to. Now, you will recollect that the sequential roadmap that was agreed to between the two Commerce Secretaries in September 2012 provides for a step-by-step move in this regard. And the first step relates to the full liberalization of trade along the Atari-Wagah border post. We have always remained hopeful that this sequential roadmap will be implemented with Pakistan taking the first steps. And we will wait and see how this pans out in the forthcoming meeting. Yes, yes, sir.
The U.S. Department spokesman said that when the U.S. withdraw the diplomats from New Delhi, they say they want to make this as a closure. So do you think that India think that this will be a closure to the diplomat law?
I think we need to understand that today is the first day since the completion of that process where India withdrew an Indian diplomat. That was Devyani Khobragade. On Friday night, she came back. And the US withdrew, in accordance with our request, a diplomat from the US mission who left yesterday. So today is the first working day. We will take each day as it comes because it's important to look both back and forward. The relationship between India and US is not a one-issue relationship. We have a series of issues that we are engaged in. We will take this matter after carefully examining of what has been our experience in the past, and we will move forward on this broad relationship that we have. And let me tell you, we are doing that. For those of you who are interested, yes, tomorrow, this is only one aspect of because I wanted to indicate to you how broad our relationship is. And that is tomorrow, the Consulate General of India in New York, along with the Homeland Security, will have a ceremony where Indian artifacts worth, by some evaluations, 1.5 million have been found, and the US will be returning those to us at a function tomorrow in New York. So the point is that in the same place where we've had difficulties, we also have collaboration and cooperation. And that's the nature of our relationship. It's extremely broad, it's wide-ranging, and you will have on a day-to-day basis a number of interactions which some of you would ordinarily perhaps not even notice. Yes, Frank, and then.
Good afternoon. Could you explain on the same subject what Mr. Wayne May was accused of, or what India believed he did, and why he was expelled? And secondly...
One question only, Frank. I am not going to engage in a public discussion about who was expelled, because I indicated to you that we had requested for a withdrawal of a diplomat who was involved in the processes at that time leading to the case that was under consideration, and that is the Devyani Khobragade case, which led to a unilateral action on the part of the United States. Now, beyond that, I have nothing further to say. Yes, Srinjoy?
Sir, 21 MLAs from Uttar Pradesh will be in England for the next 2 or 3 days. Will they get any help from the Indian mission in the next 48 hours? And if so, what kind of help?
Srinjoy, I know you have been following their journey all across Europe, and they're also going to other parts other than Europe also. Now, it is normal for Indian missions when any state delegation visits, they ask in advance what their requirements would be, and we make those arrangements on the basis of the costs and expenditure being borne by the people who send them. So it's normal for Indian missions to provide that logistical assistance for any delegation that visits from any part of India. And that will be our role in that visit or in any other visit of any other study tours being undertaken by any delegation from any part of India. Yes, Dr. Akhilesh.
Sir, is it true, and do you know that many other officials of India who are based in US or in any other country have expressed their apprehension that the same case may happen with them as Devyani Khobragade? Any factual situation?
This is what I read from you according to some unnamed sources, because I think the reality of this situation is that the government of India pays for the travel of all India-based domestic assistants who go on overseas postings with our officials. And therefore, if there are any who have concerns, it's very simple for them to send them back, because the government of India pays for their return to India. We haven't heard anything of the sort that I have heard on television channels or newspapers. Yes, sir.
Are there any plans or proposals to restore privileges withdrawn from US diplomats in India?
You know, every action that we take is available to you. And therefore, should we have taken anything in the past, you would have known. And if we take anything in the future, you will know about it. At this stage, there has not been a change in the status quo as it was, say, last week. Yes, Ashok.
Akbar, the Ministry of External Affairs takes up all the issues of international issues which relates to India. The International Olympic Committee derecognized Indian Olympic Association. So, and they have said that if they follow the rules, they will be lifting. Their executive body meeting said And the Boxing Federation of India also stands derecognized by the international body. So what is the MEA's role in this? Because these are all international problems.
Ashok, I'm grateful to you for having expanded the breadth of our jurisdiction. Unfortunately, I must confess that on this core, there are other accredited government bodies who handle it, and it's not the Ministry of External Affairs. Yes.
Akbar, after the election of Bangladesh, since the government of India has stated and denounced the violence, a lot of violence are taking place and the minorities are also being attacked. Is there any take from the government of India? How do you look at it? The Prime Minister called up the Prime Minister of Bangladesh yesterday. Did they discuss over the topic?
Yes, we are aware of reports of attacks on minorities in the past few days. And following these attacks, it is also our understanding that the Bangladesh Home Ministry has ordered the Inspector General of Police and the divisional commissioners to take additional measures to ensure security of religious minorities across the country. Our understanding also is that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had publicly promised strong action against the culprits, and several culprits accused of these attacks in Dinajpur and Jessore have been arrested. Now, as you are aware, the primary responsibility for protection of life and liberty and property of all citizens of any country, including Bangladesh, as well as the minorities in that country, rests with the government of that country, and in this case, the government of Bangladesh. We in India, through our High Commission, have been closely following the situation and are also in touch with the concerned authorities of Bangladesh in this regard. Yes, Maurice.
My question is always on the Italian Marines. I would like to remember that in 1 month we will celebrate 2 years of the detention of the Marines in India, and in few days we will celebrate 1 year of the sentence of the Supreme Court that directed the authorities, Indian authorities, to make a quick trial and a quick investigation. Are you able to tell me where is the situation at the moment?
Mauricio, the matter is sub judice. You know it as much as I know. For an executive to comment on a matter is sub judice is not in the province of an executive authority in India, because this is a matter which now rests squarely with the courts, and it's there that the matter rests. Rajiv, yes.
One of the lesser known aspects of Devyani case is her accusation against her maid that she stole a number of articles. Could you just shed some light on what kind of articles she has been accused of, and whether these articles, including the mobile phone, this lends credence to her father's claim that Sangeeta Richard was a CIA mole or a spy?
Rajiv, I'm not going to get into the details of a case which is already, the details are available in the public domain in terms of petitions to the court. So I would suggest that you please have a look at those details which are available in the court. I have just one announcement to make, and that is this relates to the process which has begun between India and Sri Lanka for repatriation of release of fishermen. The process began today with 20 from the Indian side and 20 from the Sri Lankan side. So 20 fishermen, Indian fishermen have been released by Sri Lanka, and 20 Sri Lankan fishermen have been released by India. And this process is likely to continue as we go forward. And that the process began before the festive occasion of Pongal is a matter of some satisfaction to all of us. Yes. I usually don't answer the second, but sure.
It's really just a clarification. The External Affairs Minister, in an interview at the weekend, there was a question regarding whether or not the measures or the removal of privileges, or whatever you'd like to term them, given to U.S. diplomats. The question was whether or not they could be restored, and I wasn't entirely clear in what his answer meant. So I was just wondering, is there any chance of a reversal of those measures, including the measures against the social club, the removal of certain privileges?
I don't know what social club you're referring to, because the restrictions as relates to non-diplomats and non-entitled persons utilizing privileges and benefits which are intended to for diplomats is a matter which is, as we have indicated previously, not covered by the Vienna Convention. So I don't know what is the legal basis for you asking that question, unless you would like to benefit from privileges which are not yours.
I would just like to be able to write that this is not on the cards. I just want to be sure about it before I write it.
I think I answered that question earlier when it was asked. Every action that was taken was immediately available in the public domain. At this stage, there has not been any change from what was the position a few days ago. Should there be any intention of any of such thinking, you would, I'm certain, be privileged to know, because you know all the things that happen at very rapidly, and I trust you would know any such thing. But at this stage, there is no issue that is being considered, because right now what we are considering is to have a review of what happened, focus on day-to-day issues on a day-to-day basis, and let's see what happens tomorrow. If we see well beyond tomorrow, there is a possibility that you may get your outcomes wrong. Thank you very much.